Welcome to Intentionally FinTech, the show we dive deep behind the purpose of your favorite emerging of an incumbent FinTech brands. I'm your host today, Michael Phillips, the CEO and founder of a purpose-driven branding agency called Beholst. After 7 years in the creative industry, after an unfortunate wake-up call in late January, I've made it my mission to help founders like my guests on this show to do what inspires them most. On this show, we're going to dive deep behind the purpose of everyday FinTech brands, the values that drive their day-to-day work, and just how exactly clarity of purpose helps them navigate this otherwise cluttered environment. Today, I'm joined with Lior Schwartz from Fidara. How are you, Lior, today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Where are you calling me from today? I think Greece, right?
Athens, Greece, which is a wonderful city.
How's the weather?
The weather today is a little bit rainy, but rain doesn't stop us from working.
100%. Talking about work, Lior. I know Fidara because we had an intro call, but just for the guests who don't know exactly what you do, can you sum it up in a couple of words? What does Fidara do in your day-to-day?
Fidara is virtualization of the whole blockchain ecosystem.
Can you elaborate on that bit?
Yes. Every blockchain is actually an isolated island, meaning if you're going, think about a blockchain like a toll road. You're entering a toll road like Solana, for example. You have their terms, you have their speed, you have their costs, you have all the legal stuff involved in it. And in order to onboard your assets, your tokens, or anything else on it, you need to comply with the terms of this specific toll road, which can be a private toll road, like for the banks, and it can be a public toll road, like Solana, Avalanche, etc. And what we are actually doing is taking all this ecosystem and we are virtualizing it. What does it mean? It's like you're having a virtual cellular company that doesn't have antennas, that doesn't have anything inside, and just have the virtual layer. So what we are doing, we created on top of any existing blockchain another layer, a virtual layer that enables you to set your own blockchain, set your own rules, your own terms, your own legalities, etc. And by doing so, you're having your own ecosystem. On top of this, we are enabling to have your own tokens and your own wallets. Why does it important? Because if you're having a standard wallet, most of the people do not use all the functionalities of a standard wallet because usually it contains lots of features that nobody uses, like your phone. Not all the people is using all of the functions of your phone. The same is the wallet. So what we enable is actually flexibility, modularity, and simplicity of the blockchain, the token, and the wallet.
That is a wonderful offering. And it's very interesting that you're doing this for the very businesses, exactly what everyone needs, right? Individual needs, or maybe even B2B, right? Do you also do B2B or only B2C or both of them?
What we are actually doing by virtualizing the whole ecosystem is we are doing B2B to C. Meaning we are supporting each and every angle of the whole ecosystem. If an organization needs to support his clients, whether to have it only for his workers or managers, we enable everything to be under one ecosystem. On top of this, what we enable, I don't know if you heard about what happened 2 days ago, but a wonderful stable coin based on gold, they just minted 300 trillions of dollars of tokens by mistake, and then they deleted it and changed it, etc. This is happening because they don't have a voting system like what we've created. What does it mean? Every action, sorry for this. Aha. I'm saying again. No, leave it. It will be interesting for the listeners that want to sleep. So what I'm saying is Our voting system enables the owner of the blockchain for any action on the blockchain to have a committee of people that needs to vote and to confirm each and every action on the blockchain. So such a thing cannot happen. Meaning, if you are minting, your whole board needs to vote. And if there is a mistake, I can only assume that if you've got a wide and smart board, they will see that someone made this mistake and they will not confirm it. Especially when you are talking about dramatic things that are taking place on a blockchain, like minting millions of coins or tokens, depends what you're doing.
Right, I understand. And this seems like it stems from a very deep purpose that you have as a founder. So let me ask you, what was the thing or the moment where you decided that Fidara needs to be built?
Let's call it like this. We are a very, very different people in Fidara. For example, our CEO is older than me, at least by 10 years, and he comes from a very, very wide perspective of business. He was involved in an exit 4.5B 20 years ago. He's a chip designer by trade, and he was involved in the, let's call it the beginning of the internet while all the things started to evolve. So he's got a very, very wide perspective about the market and the evolvement of data, business, and money. On the other hand, our CTO comes from a very, very different field. He comes from defense, security, governments, etc. He was in the Israeli army systems over 30 years, and after that he served under the prime minister's office, and he's got a very, very wide perspective. So by saying so, why we decided to build Fidara, it was not one morning idea. Both our CEO and our CTO has got involvement in blockchain since 2017 in a very, very different projects, perspectives, different tokens and different coins and RWAs, etc. But on the beginning of this year, we came to the conclusion that there is a gap in the market. And one is this gap. Most of the people on this planet doesn't know not what is a blockchain, not what is a coin, not what is a token, and not even what is a wallet. In order to have the blockchain technology available for the masses, you must find a way to simplify it to the end user. And it doesn't matter if the end user is a manager, if he's a child, if he's a mother or a grandmother, because in the end, what is happening, the wave that we are seeing these days is that all the giants, the big banks, everyone is going on chain, whether it's JP Morgan, whether it's Nasdaq, whether it's in Dubai. But in the end, if you ask the common person in the street, what does it mean? For them, Bitcoin, blockchain, and crypto means the same. It doesn't even occur to them to dig in deeper. And we came to the conclusion that in the end, they don't need to. When you are entering your car, you don't need to understand not the engine, not the oils, not what kind of fuel and how it's made and all the processes, etc. You just want to enter the car and to ride. The same as like you're entering the shop and you're paying. But these days, in one word, if you can describe the whole web situation, it's a chaos. What does it mean? There is no regulation. There is no standardization. Everyone is doing what they want to do. And this is the time of a huge evolvement in all of the aspects of this economy. And what was yesterday's joke about memcoin and NFTs, etc., in a few years will become the mainstream. And we thought that in order to enable any organization to onboard blockchain, which is the new thing, we need to enable it via virtualization, like AWS did for computing, that you don't need to hold your own servers and your own tech team and the support and the worries and the insurance and all the stuff. We created a whole ecosystem that enables any institution, whether it's small or big, to onboard and to have their own blockchain.
That is a wonderful gap in the market that you found indeed, and I can really sense that you guys are very passionate about this. And that leads me to the next question, because you told me about the gap in the market and if you want the logistics side of the business, but I also want to get into the personal side. Whenever we engage with a company, whether we are the founders of a company or we just join them to serve in their mission, we resonate with something which affects us personally. What is that component that is very personal to you about Fidara?
You know, there are different people and different perspectives. I think what is different in me and common to our company, which is not standard and definitely not in the startup community, we are not looking for features. We are looking for solutions. We are looking for the big picture. By saying so, it's always, no matter, let's call it, in what step of our lives we were involved, we were always looking to conquer the globe, let's call it like this. It doesn't matter if you look in my short professional history. I was a CEO of a sandal company, which is called Freedom Moses. So you think about it, okay, a simple sandal, a few colors. What is the big mess? So first of all, we found a way to create a unique sandal in 40 that is sold over 45 countries around the globe. We found the distributors, the niche, etc., just to do it. So in every aspect or any field that I'm involved in, I always look for the big picture and not just for something that is a small piece of the segment. We always look to find the big solution and to look how we can improve our company in one hand and our vision on the other hand.
Wonderful. So would you call yourself a problem solver?
Not just a problem solver. You know, in any organization, even in every family, there is the one that needs the system to roll on and to be in a peace and quiet environment. Otherwise, it will not work. So in Fidara, this is my position. And I think in many other companies that I've been in or involved in or created, this is the position that I take to make sure that everyone is doing their job. And on the other hand, they are aligned with the vision or the targets, etc.
Talking about vision, imagine that in 10 years from now, it's 2025, so in 2035, people are talking about Fidara and also about you, Lior, in the fintech market, in the Web3 market. What do you hope they say?
About me, I don't care. To tell you the truth, I'm not that important. I'm not moved by ego. Totally, this is not my purpose, and not to be remembered, and not what they will think, etc. Always, I can tell you that in any company that I was involved, I'm always say, even if I'm the CEO, I'm the less important person in the company. You are the ones that are doing the job, and this is what is important. So in a matter of vision, what people they say about me, this is totally irrelevant. But in a matter of what they will say about Fidara, I think that we will be in 10 years from now, if we were taking it into the big vision, an important player in the blockchain world. I cannot say how big, because the market is changing so fast that, you know, it starts today with billions, the market, and it goes into trillions, because we are in the front of a wave that people do not understand. But everyone, and I'm saying again, everyone in 10 years will be on chain. It doesn't matter if it's a small organization, a big organization, a government, no matter what the treasuries, everyone is going on chain. This is the new technology. This is what moves the world forward. And this is the new money creation.
Well, Leo, what I'm going to do in 10 years from now, I'll send you this exact part of our episode and I'll hopefully tag you and say, Leo, you were right.
Okay.
But you
Days
said
will
something very,
tell.
but you said something very interesting, that you're the least important person in the company, even when you're the CEO, and I couldn't agree more. And this is where we reach the framework part of our conversation. Would you be okay if we discuss for the next couple of minutes a framework which will guide the rest of our discussion into this podcast?
Okay.
So my guests already know about this, but I'll ask you, have you seen this before at all?
I saw this picture with our previous discussion for 1 minute,
Yeah.
and I told you, don't show me anything. Let me come on a blank page because I don't care. Because
Love that.
I know what I know, and I say what I say, as simple as possible.
I love that you're an authentic person. Thank you for coming today on the show. Well, let me delve into the explanation of this because it's something that our guests are expecting, the returning ones. The new ones are going to be wondering, why is Michael showing us 3 concentric circles? So let me delve into this a little bit because you said something key which made me to bring this up, that you are the least important person in the company. And I couldn't agree more. Because if in order for people to be satisfied in a company, first of all, the employees need to be happy. Then if the employees are happy, the customer is happy. And if the customer is happy, then the board is happy. It's in this exact order. And this is something which Simon Sinek, my camera is moving and it's very distracting, coined in his Start With Why framework, which is what I have in front of me. Because at the end of the day, if we think about anything, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The why is the mission that you serve and the way that makes them feel. So people buy emotion at the end of the day. And in order for you to stimulate the person to buy from you and to be perceived as an authentic brand, Simon Sinek said that it's the best to follow this framework. And how does he say this? You start with your why statement. Why do you do what you do? You move into how you do what you do, or how are you different, your unique selling points. And finally, what do you do? And this is very important at a customer level, at an investor level, but also at an enterprise level, organizational level. Because this 3 circles are like a cone seen from the top. Because at the top we have the founders with the why. And why is this moving so much? Sorry. At the top we have the founders with the why. At the middle we have the management with the how, because they're the ones who know how to put. I will stop using my pen because it's moving the camera. Okay. The management with the how, because they know how to put the vision in perspective. And at the bottom is the employees with the what, because they work on the product itself. And the goal of a founder is to communicate the why downward to build this megaphone so that you can have an authentic company. And this is something which brought me up with this when you said that, because I was thinking about it and I wanted to draft your why statement. This is something we do on the podcast a lot. And that's going to guide us into the rest of our conversation. Are you ready to hear what I heard from you?
Luis.
Okay, so I listened to your story about how you started and that you found a gap in the market. And you want to basically bring down the blockchain to everyone and simplify it. Make it with their own style, their own rules, and their own legalities to customize it. But you also told me that the personal side of you and Fidara and every single business that you've engaged in is that you see the bigger picture and you're looking for a solution. So if I were to push your why statement in one sentence, it would be like this. And let me know if this strikes a chord. But to simplify the complicated aspects, or to simplify the complicated in order to advance the bigger picture. This is something I've gotten from you, and I think that this one sentence is guiding you as a person and also Fidara. What do you think?
It's a very, very concentrated, narrow perspective, but okay, we'll take it like this.
Because the way you would do, if I were to put this into the golden circle framework, it would be, we at Fidara simplify the complicated in order to advance the bigger picture. Through our knowledge of blockchain technologies and Web3 understanding, we have made a digitalization of the blockchain in order for you to bring your own ideas, your own legalities, style, rules into your own blockchain. This is something how I'd put it.
Wonderful. So you have it all.
Exactly. But let me ask you this, Leo. I assume that in your vast experience as an entrepreneur, you have talked to investors. And let me ask you, do you think investors are looking for a fintech which has purpose behind it, who's serving a mission? Or do you think they only care about the ROI?
First of all, as I've stated before, most of the common people and investors are sophisticated, they've got their knowledge, but I'm saying most of the people on this planet does not know what we are talking about at all. So when you are talking about ROI or about vision or about changing the world or etc., most of the investors are looking for a very simple startup with one line that can describe it. Sometimes it's a feature, sometimes it's a video app, sometimes it's a graphic app. Sometimes it solved a very, very small problem. They know what they put and they hope to get a nice ROI versus. When you are going into the wide picture, as we are doing, there are fewer investors that understand what we are doing at all. This is the reason that we are trying to explain it as simple as possible because, well, explaining it technology matter or sophisticated matter, it will not go through because people do not understand. And to tell you the truth, the investor in the end needs to believe that we know what we are doing. And I can tell you in one sentence, we know what we are doing. We are talking to the highest level people in the market, including the banks, including the funds, including the one who builds these rails and blockchains all over. And till now, and I'm sorry to say, nobody told me that I'm an idiot. Not as yet.
I hope no one ever does. But I agree with you when you look at the bigger picture and when you look at the fine print and when you're looking to improve such a large component of the market, people need to trust you. And that leads me to my next question. You know, because beyond investors who need to trust you, your customers need to also trust you. How do you navigate that at Fidara? How do you inspire people to trust you?
First of all, talking is one thing and doing is another thing. And we already built an MVP that anyone that is interested can see live. A blockchain created in front of his eyes because we created a blockchain factory. He can see tokens created on top of this blockchain that he just created. And on top of this, a wallet that is created especially for him in front of his eyes. These are things that, you can say, trust me or not, but you can check what we did, where we got, and what we achieved till now. You asked a different question. How can I assure or make the client trust me? So first of all, because what we are doing is running on top of current blockchains. We are not inventing anything in a matter of what is a blockchain. We are only bringing it to a different perspective. By doing so, for you to have in mind, in order to do what we are doing, we need to collaborate with all the entities involved. You cannot onboard a bank without the bank to collaborate with you. You cannot do it with any other institution. For you to have in mind, for example, a small use case of our system. If we are talking about carbon credits, people just hear about it and they say, okay, there is so much mess in this market and fraud, etc., and all this. But what we enable, if you are putting the carbon credits on chain, on a virtual, first of all, it doesn't cost you the heavy millions to set your own blockchain. It doesn't take years to build it and to secure it. And it enables you to have it under audit, transparent, and this builds a trust that does not exist only on this simple use case. But the use cases are unlimited. If we are talking about gold mines, for example, the world now is going into RWAs, real-world assets that are being tokenized and going on-chain. Our wide perspective of connecting this into IoT, because the main problem with real-world assets is not the tokenization, is the trust that you need to create between the off-chain and the on-chain. Meaning, how can you know that this gold mine didn't take this gold and deposit it I don't know what, and did they dig in or not, and did this truck went to the right place or not? When you're having IoT involved in these systems, it enables you to monitor each and every step in the process without a human interference. While it's being written on the blockchain, it cannot be manipulated. And this is the trust that we are bringing to the table.
I understand. Let me rewind you back to the early days of Fidara, when resources were really, really tight. Every startup goes through this, and especially in fintech, because you have to develop both a financial and regulation rigor and also the technological product. How did your mission help you stay focused and attribute these limited resources to where they need to go?
First of all, we are still on limited resources, sorry to say. At the moment, we are fundraising, but this is not the issue. The main focus is that every person, every part of the company will give his 100% to the mission in order to enable it to move forward. What does it mean? It means that the development team is working 24/7 on creating what needs to be created. It means that the CEO is connecting and meeting lots of people all over the scale, whether it's investors, partners, and perspectives, advisors, etc., for you to have in mind whom did we bring on board as advisor. Our top advisor at the moment, which the CEO brought to the table, is Mr. Gordon Verkema, who is ex-Federal Reserve Chief Operating Officer of Chicago area. So we are not bringing, just normal standard workers to the system. We are doing our best to bring the top of the top that is available in order to make the mission easier, because it's really, really wide and all over. This is it.
I understand. Here's my favorite question for today. Imagine that this AirPods case were to be a magic wand, right? Imagine this is a magic wand. If I were to wave it like this over Fidara, whatever you would want to change would change in an instant. What would you change, and why would you change that?
I would change it from 0 to 100 in a matter of scale. And I will tell you why. The change and the wave that is coming is so huge that every segment of this whole market, the whole economy, can use our services. And because there are so many use cases, just to have the right thoughts, how to implement, what to do, etc., whom to penetrate, with whom to play, etc., will demand us to scale dramatically. So if this stick will work, in 10 years, we'll know the results.
Well, I can do like this, but I can't make any promises. It's an AirPods case at the end of the day.
Okay. But you can put this podcast on the blockchain.
Can you
So
do that?
we cannot re-edit it. So it is what it is.
I will look into that. Can you actually, what things can you put on the blockchain, and what things can you not put on the blockchain? Is there something you can't put on the blockchain?
The answer is, think of a blockchain as a database that every piece of data that you add is another block on the chain. But the difference is, when you're having a database, it's being registered on your specific server. When you're having a blockchain, it's being registered on multiple, sometimes hundreds of servers at the same time. So your ability to change it is impossible, because if you change 1, 2, 10, there are still 90 or hundreds that you didn't change. So the whole database will collapse. This is why it's impossible these days to change the blockchain. One of the main problems that are happening these days is the evolvement of quantum computing. Quantum computing is another, let's say, word that people do not understand what we are talking. Totally do not understand not what is quantum and not what it's doing, etc. But this is the real dangerous for the whole finance market that people do not understand. Quantum computing is a unique computing system that enables to do millions or trillions of computing analysis on the same stuff. It will not replace the normal computer, but it will enable to break codes, find medicines, etc. What took or will take hundreds of years of all the computing power in the world that we're having today can take in a few days. And the main problem of this, that anything that is encrypted today, that we are thinking that it's safe. It doesn't matter if it's the banking system, the blockchain system, any system, its code can be decoded, and the risk is huge. And why I'm saying to act today? Because what is happening is that I can collect the encrypted data today and put it on hold, and people think nothing has happened. And I'm holding this data, let's say for 5 years when quantum computing will become more common, and then easily to decrypt anything that was encrypted. The risk is the exposure of any financial, let's call it, institute, that all of his clients will be exposed. This is a very dramatic thing that people do not take into account. This is why we planned Fidara in the architecture itself to be post-quantum computing security, meaning we take it into consideration what to do in order to be on the safe zone for the future. Because if people will not take actions today, they will face a dramatic wave soon, and you can't even imagine.
I love how everything that you do at Fidara is focused on this purpose of simplification and seeing the bigger picture. But, this is what makes you unique. If we were to switch right now to LinkedIn, and we looked up the keyword fintech, we would see the same thing for multiple brands. Everyone's revolutionizing fintech. So let me ask you the final question of today. If more fintechs were to actually be true to their purpose instead of trying to revolutionize fintech, because we have many revolutionary fintechs on LinkedIn, what would you think would change when it comes to the industry?
You need to simplify the way that you engage with the end user. That's the only thing that will create adoption. All the rest is nice to have, can create millions, maybe billions, but it will not change the market. In the end, we are talking about people. And if we take it, let's say 50, 60 years ago, when only Visa and MasterCard started, people were saying, what is this plastic card? It's idiotic. No one will use it. It's like, what? Hello? The reason that people are using it because it simplified their lives, not because it's a smart card or no. If you ask a person on the street, how does it work? You say, I don't know, but I use it and I pay and this is it. This is the only way that solutions will work. Otherwise, you cannot go into the mass adoption. And it doesn't matter which product you have, if it's fintech or not.
Right. I 100% agree with you. Simplification and clarity go a long way. And if you get the customer to understand how this is relevant for him and why does this matter to him, you've already won him as a customer. What you do is not necessarily relevant to the customer itself. But thank you, Lior, for joining me today. It was wonderful to have you here. The people can check out Fidara in the description box or description, whatever you're watching this from, the equivalent to that. If you have any final thoughts to share with the audience before we log off this episode, Lior.
I can only say that enjoy the change because the wave is coming.
This is like a little bit Game of Thrones. The winter is coming.
It's not far from there.
I couldn't agree more. But thank you, Lior, for joining me today. And thank you guys for tuning in this episode of Intentionally FinTech. I've been your host, Michael Phillips, together with Lior Schwartz from Fidara. Make sure you check out their website, LinkedIn, and also Lior's LinkedIn in the description around there. And you mentioned something about a demo, Lior, where they can create their own wallet and see how that works, personalized. Would you be okay if we link that somewhere so people can check it out?
First of all, it's not a demo that they can check it out. They need to contact us and we'll set them a specific demo for them. It's not a playground. It's really creating a blockchain which you cannot delete. You are creating a real blockchain in life.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, make sure you contact them if you're interested in checking that out. Other than that, I'll see you next episode. Make sure you check out the other episodes to see other wonderful fintech, wonderful missions, and wonderful discussions. I'll see you next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.